Thanks for joining us. I'm Chris Ensing. Katarina's away tonight. Here's what's making news right now.
Now I just feel that we'll have more opportunities for us to pursue either career-wise or education-wise. It's just opening up more doors for us.
The one that we're most concerned about right now is our unemployment rate. It's not terrible. We're at 8.6%. It's a slight uptick from last month.
It's a big Lebanese community, as you know, so when you're talking about growing up like in a Lebanese household, it connects with them so much, and that, I don't find that everywhere I go.
We start our show with big news for Windsor, Essex. The federal government has lifted the cap on the number of hours international students can work. Our Jacob Barker joins me now live. Catch us up to speed here. Jacob, what was this cap like before?
Well, Chris, before international students were only allowed to work 20 hours a week, but starting on November 15th, their boss can give them as many hours as they choose. Just chatting with a few students near the University of Windsor today, it was clear it was a very welcome step.
With the increased hour limit, they would be able to earn more, and now the businesses wouldn't have to train a lot of people basically, but yeah, they can get trained in lesser amount of time than the otherwise.
Cost of everything is going up, like the rent and living and other things. So if we are able to work more than 20 hours, it's gonna help us a lot.
As we all know that the day-by-day inflation is going up, so the 20 hours is not that much. So that is the reason why the government, that's a big step the government took. So it will be good. It will benefit a lot.
Is it hard with the amount of money that you make right now?
Yeah, because the 20 hours is not on the basic minimum wage. It's like 15. It's not that much, yeah.
Earlier, the expenses, they used to be just cut to cut. We had to pay our expenses, the groceries, the mobile bills and everything. There wasn't much left for us. Plus the fee structure, it used to be a very stringent for us to actually save upon for the future course of action. Now I just feel that we'll have more opportunities for us to pursue either career-wise or education-wise. It's just opening up more doors for us.
Up till now, I can only work for 20 hours, and apart from that, I can't able to manage my whole work because of limit of 20 hours, and it is a work that needs more hours to spend. So now, because of this limitation, I can do more work.
Have you talked to your employer about doing more?
Yeah.
No, not right now, but hopefully my employer will give me more benefits because of this.
Clearly hearing the need from students here. There's been a lot of talk about the need for workers in our city as well. Help wanted signs inside of windows all over the place. How is this going to help fill that gap?
I spoke with Rakesh Naidu, the CEO at the Chamber of Commerce here. He says there are numerous industries struggling with workers right now that can benefit, especially when it comes to small and medium-sized businesses in the hospitality industry, food and accommodation, and construction. He says it will give businesses that employ the workers a certain level of consistency and continuity that works for both the businesses and the students alike.
At a time when a lot of businesses have continued to suffer because of not finding the right people in the right time, this is good news. This will help us in addressing, at least in short term, the workforce gap that we have. So it's very well received here at the Chamber of Commerce.
Now, even though Naidu says the Chamber advocated for students to be allowed to work more hours even before the pandemic, he does support the government's decision to put an end date to the program at the end of next year. He says that he hopes at that time the government will evaluate how increasing the cap of hours has worked and whether or not to continue it.
Hey, so it's CBC's Jacob Barker live for us tonight. Now, as you heard, this comes at a time when Windsor's job numbers are in an alarming position. That's what a researcher at Workforce Windsor Essex told me this afternoon. Our unemployment rate is slightly up. We hear about that number a lot, but I want to take a look at the participation rate. It's going down. That's the number of people working or actively looking for work. The target number is around 65%. We're at 58%. That means people who can work aren't working or even trying to find a job. Here's why that might be happening.
A lot of employers, a bit of the time there's a lack of experience, so they're looking for somebody in more of a senior position, and they want someone that has that higher education or high experience. What we're finding right now is they're just looking for bodies. They'll take anyone right now. If somebody is willing to come in, start from the bottom, train and work their way up, that's who they're looking for. But there's a bit of hesitation. Again, if you've been working in Windsor for a long time, you don't want to start at the bottom. You have 20 years experience, you're not interested in something new. But for a lot of folks, that's the reality these days. If you're going to transfer sectors or positions, you might have to start at the bottom and work your way up again.
And we are seeing a bit of a success story out in Leamington on the job front. There's a celebration over a hefty harvest. CBC's Dale Molnar now with a tomato season that's the talk of the town.
A tomato picking machine works to harvest the last of this year's Roma tomatoes in Leamington for Highbury Canco. The town has seen good years and bad years.
It actually was, for myself, was the best crop I've ever harvested. The conditions were dry, so the plants had very few disease issues with them, and also for harvesting, it made for ideal harvesting conditions.
This harvest might be about 20% better compared to a normal year. Growers and the CEO at Highbury Canco are telling CBC News this is the best harvest they've ever seen. The dry summer made for more and better quality tomatoes.
Best since 2014?
Definitely since 2014.
Wow.
So, I mean, some might say one of the best that we've had in this facility in its history. So it was a really good harvest this year. We were blessed and we needed it.
This operation is the heart of Leamington, one that nearly stopped beating in 2014. That's when Berkshire Hathaway closed the Heinz operation after over 100 years. 740 people out of a job. Highbury Canco took over, but it was a slow start. 250 workers at first. Today they have 630 people working for them. A great harvest like this year's helps the company continue to grow.
Well, it means a lot, and not just to me, like to everybody involved here, the community of Leamington, the town of Leamington, the grower base, even the temporary foreign worker base that the growers bring in. It's a feather in the cap of the industry as a whole.
It means everything. I mean, I have a lot of family ties in the farming industry and some uncles that deliver crop here, so to have a very strong year is very encouraging for both growers and obviously the processor.
That truck is about 40 tons, and that 40 tons of tomatoes, and that both of those wagons would fill up 5 of those crates of tomato paste.
Sam Diab says Highbury Canco now produces more tomato paste than the amount of ketchup Heinz used to produce. That paste is used to produce soup, juice, and pasta sauce. Good years like this one spells more growth for the company.
We work on, 10 or 12 big projects a year, and we usually land 1 or 2. And so, the fruits of your labor are always there, but it's a lot of labor to get there. The team that's here is working on a couple of larger ones. It can involve some construction and buildings and some different things. So there's some pretty exciting stuff that's going on, and people are taking notice of what this team at Highbury is doing and what we can provide to these big brands and big customers, and that's who we work with.
Highbury Canco added 5 more growers this year, bringing the total to 26. They are also working to expand the market for their own brand of pasta sauce.
So we're in Walmart, Giant Tiger, getting ready to launch nationally in a few other grocers, but we're across the country right now in those 2 retailers, and so hoping, the tomatoes that we processed this year are going to excite the consumer in this product. It's made in Canada and it's red and it's awesome.
Besides the job security at the processing plants, the president of the Chamber of Commerce Board says the farmers help the economy of Leamington when they get good years like this. He says the spin-off is in the tens of millions of dollars, which flows through the community.
You see a lot more of the general labor. Everybody's just got more work to do, but you also see the extra, the guys who are supplying the farm equipment, but also they're out on site repairing it while the harvest is going on, whether it's trailers or hydraulic lines. All that stuff needs to be addressed because they're ripe now and they got to get them out of the ground, and so they got to get where they're going.
It definitely makes you feel comfortable, so investing any new equipment or improvements or any tile drainage or anything you want to help out with the farm production for the future years, it's definitely, you feel comfortable making investments. I'm ecstatic about it. It feels good to finally have such a wonderful crop after last year, which it was excessive rainfall.
Want another year like this next year?
Well, yes. This, you could only dream of it. I'm not counting on it.
Highbury Canco is hoping to add about 3 or 4 more product lines to its lineup here over the next year. And if they do that, they expect to hire about 70 more workers. Dale Molnar, CBC News, Leamington.
There's a little movement happening at the bargaining table between CUPE education workers in the province today. CUPE saying that without a reasonable response, They'll be forced to file a no board notice. That triggers the countdown to a strike.
Today, I had one member talk to me about how they are going to the food bank to ensure their family has a Thanksgiving meal. I think it's time for the minister and the premier to think about how they would feel as somebody who is making $39,000 a year if they are willing to accept the peanuts that they're passing at the table.
Walton says the government didn't make a single move today. The Minister of Education saying that they'll stay at the negotiating table, ready to reach a fair deal that recognizes education workers already have the most generous pension and benefits plan. In Alberta, the United Conservative Party has a new leader and the province a new incoming premier. Danielle Smith won her party's leadership race last night on the 6th ballot. In her victory speech, she promised to put Albertans' needs first.
No longer will Alberta ask permission from Ottawa to be prosperous and free.
A key part of Smith's platform is a pledge to ignore federal legislation if MLAs decide it's not in the province's best interest. That's the cornerstone of Smith's Alberta Sovereignty Act. Smith currently does not have a seat in the Legislative Assembly. She's hoping to change that in a by-election as soon as possible. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is taking steps meant to punish Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. It comes about 1,000 days after the downing of a plane carrying Canadian passengers over Iran and a brutal crackdown on women protesting for their rights.
The top 50% of the IRGC leadership, the over 10,000 officers and senior members most responsible for this heinous state behavior, inadmissible to Canada, denying them access to Canadian territory and opportunities. The designation of a regime is a permanent decision. This means that more than 10,000 members of the IRGC leadership, for example, will be inadmissible to Canada forever.
Now, we've seen protests in Windsor, Iranians calling on the Canadian government to do more, saying that they're worried for family back home. You can vote by the car this weekend for the municipal election here in Windsor. That's happening at Micmac Park from 10 to 6 on Saturday and Sunday. Aaron Day wants your vote for mayor. He's running for the first time, telling the CBC's Jacob Barker what led to putting his name on the ballot.
It was an incident in downtown that sparked Aaron Day's interest in becoming political. He says a group of men beat him after he confronted them for using racist language.
There's a lot of guys there, and they're just, like I said, with the N-word, just back and forth. And it's to the point where it's almost unbearable, where I just said, hey, you know what I mean? I see you guys talking all this, but I don't see anybody that should be relating to that.
He says they chased him down and he was sucker punched.
In my face, my ocular bone was cracked right here, so I had to go to a specialist.
Day says there were charges laid against two, but the ensuing investigation and court process left a bad taste in his mouth.
I felt like I had to do the investigations. I was bringing in things to the police, like here's the video, here's what happened. So, and going through the judicial system, the whole time I didn't feel like, it felt like it was a rush. It was pushed through.
He says the downtown has become less safe. He wants to change that from the highest seat in the city.
This experience made me motivated to run for mayor, just to see there's got to be something more that can be done. Hopefully we can create a better and safer environment for everybody in the city.
It's not the only reason he's running.
A lot of my friends and family lost jobs to the pandemic, which in hindsight is like, they shouldn't have lost the jobs, and you know, they shouldn't be struggling right now.
Day works as a school bus driver. He's been involved with groups working with kids, with a breakfast club on the west side that would feed kids and organize field trips. He also says he worked with the Student Teen Action Group, volunteering for programs that help children from urban areas.
It's just my whole life I've helped kids, and I think that's our future. So if you have to provide something better for them, and that's why I decided to run for mayor, because I have to be a change. I can't just talk about it.
The headline battle unfolding between incumbent Drew Dilkins and Councillor Chris Holt does not represent the people he seeks to represent.
If you were happy with the last 8 years, then you can vote for them. But to look at the voter turnout and to hear my friends always say that well, we don't have anybody vote for. Nobody looks after us over here. Nobody's doing this. So, you know, maybe it's a good thing that I'm not a politician, right?
Day did not have a campaign team when we talked, but he says he has lots of supporters helping him out. He does plan to hold some events to help drum up interest.
I know by myself, I kind of don't want to sit in the office. If I can go fix the streets, I have a construction background, I'll go help fix the streets. If I got to come out here and look out for the people, maybe I will. Maybe I'll get some people together and stand out here after the bar and whatnot. But, you know, it's all talk now, but I'm ready to do that.
A promise to be a different mayor, a goal that began right here on a downtown street. Jacob Barker, CBC News, Windsor.
Take a live look outside here. We are heading into a holiday weekend. What the weather is going to look like, Josiah will tell us after the break. Welcome back. Josiah joining us for weather now. For those of you that are keeping score at home, I'm in for Jason, who's in for Kat. Josiah, you're in for Dahlia, who's in for Colette. I think that clears up the roster here. We got a long weekend coming up. What are we looking at here, pal?
Yeah, that's right. So, Chris, quite a change from yesterday with the weather. Today, there is a frost advisory tonight issued by the Government of Canada as temperatures drop near that freezing mark. You'll want to cover up any plants in the frost-prone areas overnight, but don't let that paint your weekend. Let's take a look at those next 5 days. Right now, it's around 11 degrees, cloudy. Tonight, those cloudy conditions will clear, and you'll start to see we have some nice sunny days for Saturday and Sunday. Saturday, high of 14 with a warmer evening, low of 5. Sunday, nice sunny day, high of 17. Cloudy evening that night, but clearing into Monday and Tuesday with nice highs of 16 and 18. Tuesday night will be a warm evening with a high of 10. So pretty nice conditions for the long weekend ahead.
Not bad at all. Speaking of the long weekend here, the Jays are playing right now. We're kind of paying attention, keeping track of the score. But you've got some people who are paying closer attention here.
That's right. We had a pretty cool guest on Afternoon Drive today. And yesterday in the newsroom, we were just laughing about, you know, being in Windsor, what team do you cheer for, the Jays or the Tigers?
Yes.
We won't get into that, but regardless of your allegiance, this story here will definitely warm your heart. So these are some girls from High Park School in Sarnia. And over the past 18 weeks, they've been participating in the Girls at Bat program. So they found out via the Jays Care Foundation that they got box tickets for tonight's playoff opener.
Pretty sweet.
Pretty awesome. Great opportunity. But according to their coach, all these girls, they got super into the sport. They learned all the players' names. And just a few days ago, they got a call from the Jays Care Foundation that they wouldn't actually be able to be in those box seats.
Oh, no.
So panic ensued. They were trying to figure out what was going to happen. And thanks to the power of social media, the Jays were able to come through and give them those box seats. So we were able to connect with their coach.
What was it
live.
like? What did they think? What did they?
They were so it was so loud. It was like pandemonium. Hard to hear what they were saying, but really, really heartwarming story. And just the coach was, you could tell it was so rewarding for her that she was able to share the love of the sport with them. So great guest. You can check that out online, actually.
Yes, CBC Listen app, go to Find Afternoon Drive.
That's right. Yeah,
Perfect.
Afternoon
I'm sure
Drive.
you'll tweet it out. I'm sure it'll be on Instagram as
will
well.
Be.
Jason has been hearing your recommendations, hasn't given you anything back. So I wanted to present to you something that I enjoy about Windsor.
All right.
Nav Namwa with Windsor Morning was speaking with a Windsor-based comedian. He's Juno Award winning. Name's Dave Merhesh. He's got a show tonight. It's a homecoming show. He's coming back here. Nav caught up with him. Take a listen.
All right.
Have a watch.
You were the host, but you were like the best part of the show. And at one point, you're like, I'm not even South Asian. Why am I here? You're like,
dude, I remember that because they kept booking me for South Asian shows for 2 years in a row.
It's kind of cool because in all the stand-up that I've seen from you, you've never shied away from being from Windsor. You wear it proudly, like on your shirt currently. Even in your latest Crave special, there was a replica of the Ambassador Bridge on stage with you. Why has this place been so important to your career?
I mean, like, people talk crap about Windsor everywhere, like even in America or in Canada. And I'm like, you're from London, Ontario. It's not like you're from Paris and you're telling me that it's bad. I grew up here. I found it was very multicultural when I was growing up. It still is. I'm Lebanese, a big Lebanese population. So I always had like a sense of community. All my family is here, and a lot of my material is derived from my family, which they're from Windsor, so Windsor is very, very important to me in that sense. It's like community and family, and it's where I grew up. Of course, I'm gonna talk about it and try to put it in my act or in my life as much as I can, because it's home.
Oh man, Canada, so cool up there or down there, they don't know. Canada's so fun, you have TVs. You guys like Halloween, they're just very confused or don't care. I just didn't think they don't care.
What's been your parents specifically? What's been your parents' thoughts on your career and just how it's blossomed? The fact that a lot of your experience with your parents zeroes in on your subject matter.
They're super, super supportive from day one. They're always like uplifting about it. There's I feel very blessed and lucky, because I know sometimes Middle Eastern parents from comics that I know and actors, they're not always so open to the career choice. But my parents, since day one, have been open.
So this is it, man. This is the theater. It's huge.
It is. I mean, I didn't think it was this big. It gets bigger in my head as I keep walking down these steps. Huge hit.
Do you have any Windsor rituals that you typically do when you come down here? Like, is there a favorite shawarma spot that you hit up?
Me and my cousin got shawarma last night, and we were just talking about the downfall of downtown shawarma. It's not as dope as it used to be.
Really?
I think so. I mean, my he was telling me he doesn't even get shawarmas from downtown anymore. Wow. Right, and then I got a shawarma from Hamoudi's, because every 3 years, or year I come back, I always ask my brother, I go, what's the poppin' shawarma spot? And it's always, you can see, like, you know what I mean, like what's poppin' and what's not. Like, I'll be like, and they're like, nah, man, nobody goes to that spot anymore, bro. It's Hamoudi's, dude. And then you just go, and then you just have to start over.
Do you feel more comfortable performing in front of a hometown crowd, or do you treat the same way as if you're performing in front of LA or New York?
No, I feel a lot more, because, you know, growing up here, and again, just like, you know, being Lebanese and like, you know, speaking on my experience, and, you know, there's a big Lebanese community, I just feel a lot like, I feel more comfort, to be honest with you. I feel really like at home, and you know, I can talk about like the Windsor airport and people are gonna get it, or I talk about like the shawarmas downtown, or just stuff like that, and it's just like, it's sweet. It's like, it's this thing that we get to share, me and this crowd, that like, you know, the other people might not, and other cities obviously aren't gonna know as detailed as we are, if like I mentioned something, and that's always great. There's that connection.
Yeah.
He does at one point in his special mention the fact that there's a shawarma spot with a drive-through is now a Starbucks, and I guess the city has changed a little bit. But that's just a guy from London, Ontario, not talking trash at all, I promise. Coming up, we've got to look at something our Humane Society is doing to help out those down south. Our local Humane Society is stepping up to help house dogs from the United States. Those are dogs who were in shelters when Hurricane Ian hit just last week.
This kind of program and this kind of partnership is so critical because shelters there are struggling. They've got pets coming in that they want to be able to reunite with their families. So we don't want to go in and take dogs or animals that have been lost in the hurricane that might have families looking for them. But where we can help is by easing some of their capacity, giving them that space to bring animals in and get them reunited with their families. So this is a new approach in the last decade or so to responding to disasters by really making sure we're helping to get animals out of the shelters that were already there rather than just removing animals that became homeless during this storm.
120 dogs made their way to Virginia, New York, Ohio, 7 coming to Windsor, Essex. These dogs, they're going to spend a couple weeks at foster homes and then start going up for adoption. That's it for CBC Windsor News. Don't forget, for news anytime, you can go to our website, cbc.ca/Windsor. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Thanks for watching. Have yourself a wonderful Thanksgiving.